Hi, YouTube. What's good, man? Let's get into it. Before I even get into any of this, before I get into any of this, I always gotta say, man, don't buy anything just because of what I say. Don't buy anything just because anybody online say. I need you to be doing your research. I've told you about Investopedia. I've told you about Yahoo Finance. I've told you how to use ChatGPT to research companies and their financials. I've showed you different tools like ETFDB. I've showed you a lot of different investment tools, and you need to be going and doing your research. You need to be going and doing your research. You need to be looking up the company's fundamentals. You need to be knowing who the CEO is. You know, I need you to know if that company has a moat or not. I need you to be knowing, their projections. I need you to be following the news. I need you to be doing all of these things before you're putting your money into investments. I need you to be a smart, strategic, educated investor. You got me. And part of being an educated investor is not relying. Yes, of course. The information I'm going to give you is good information. It's important. I've done research. The information that a lot of content creators online, a lot of analysts, different news places like CNBC, a lot of the information they're giving you is good information. But you want to be sure. I talked about investor identity. You want to know if this is the right investment for you. You want to know your risk tolerance. Is this a stock that I feel comfortable getting in? Is this a speculative stock? Is this a stock that has high volatility? It moves up and down really fast. You need to know these things. So I need you to be educated, and this is not financial advice. I'm telling you this. This is what I'm looking into. These are things that I'm investing in, things that I'm adding to my portfolio, and my opinions on them from the research based off the research that I've done. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first company we're going to be talking about today is a company that I was watching last year. I wish I would have pulled the trigger. This just goes to show you, man, nobody's perfect in this investing game. You're not always going to be able to time these stocks. You're not always going to be able to get in them at the perfect times. There's always going to be able to get in at the low. So you have to do your research. You have to follow these stocks to know, okay, what's another price that I can maybe get in at? Do I need to wait on a pullback? Look at guidance, or EPS, earnings per share. And when I'm talking about earnings per share, if you ever hear me mention earnings per share is the net income of a net income minus the preferred dividends divided by the shares outstanding. And that's telling you a company's profitability, how much profit they earned per share outstanding. That's giving you the corporate value of that company. So we're talking about SOFI. SOFI pretty much to me is a fintech company. It's a digital bank. They don't have any physical branches. They target more of the youth. It's more of a modern, youthful, digital bank. They pretty much operate like a standard bank, student loans, banking, investing, financial education and tools, small business solutions, all the typical stuff, but wrapped in a more modern package, digital bank. So that's what SoFi is. That's what SoFi is. This company wasn't profitable for a long time. They weren't profitable for a long time. I think when I first found out about SoFi, they were not profitable. Since then, they have indeed flipped profitable. So that's one thing that I was looking out for. They have great revenue projections. They have great revenue projections. That's something that I always want you guys to be looking at. And SoFi, this is more of a long-term buy for me. Yes, I'll be buying shares, and there are shares that I'll probably be when I buy these positions in some of these stocks, I like to buy some, and then once it gets to a certain point, I may sell some just to lower my exposure to risk. I'll sell some, and then I'll let some run. I'll let some run for the long term. So that's what SoFi is. SoFi is going to be one of my long term plays. I may sell some positions as it runs up, but I'm going to be looking to buy SoFi maybe in the 10. I would like to be looking for it in the $10 to $12 range. That's what I would be wanting to buy. $10 to $12 range, of course, lower, of course. But $10 to $12, that's why I'll be looking to start picking up more shares. But I think this is a great company going into the future. I like their projections. I like their revenue projections. I like their EPS projections. And I think it's going to be a company that can 3 to 5x in the next 3 to 5 years. So SoFi is number one. Number two, number two is one that you've heard me talk about before, AMD. AMD. One that I think people are sleeping on. I bought AMD for the first time. It was about a month ago, I think. Now I bought it at a 52-week low. I think I bought it at 119. 119, as you see, it's trading at 120.96 after hours. It closed at 128.80, 121.84. AMD, their CEO is Lisa Su. She's an amazing CEO. She's been the CEO since October 8th of 2014. If you've been following the semiconductor space, of course, we talk about the darling child, NVIDIA. But another big player in the semiconductor space is AMD. They specialize and are most known for their CPUs. They also make GPUs, custom chips, and they're in the data center business. That's big business. So this company also has great market share in the semiconductor space. If you got Nvidia number one, a lot of people consider AMD a number two. You know, they can maybe be interchangeable with a Broadcom, something like that. AMD is definitely a top player and definitely has market share in the semiconductor space. Now, I am an investor in AMD and NVIDIA. I'm in both, but I have to say, from percentage base, purely percentage base, at this time, I think AMD has a higher growth potential when it comes to percentage base. You know, I think AMD, especially at these prices, gonna get more bang for your buck as far as growth in the short term with AMD being able to load up at these prices. This is one that I'm definitely adding as many shares as possible, loading up the bank, loading up the bank. I believe this is a $200 stock. This is a $200 stock, man. And look at this. They have the 1 year target at 180.32. Look where it's sitting right now. And I think it can go even higher up to 200. So this is definitely one that I have in my portfolio. Definitely one that I'm loading the bank up on. Loading the bank up on. I do not think AMD is going to beat these prices for long. I don't. I feel like this stock is extremely undervalued, extremely undervalued. The next stock is another one that we all know, that we all love. Nike. Nike hasn't seen these type of lows in 5 years. Hasn't seen these type of lows in 5 years. Again, everybody knows about Nike. I believe they didn't have the best CEO. They didn't have the best CEO over the last couple of years. They've since switched up and they've gotten Elliott Hill. He's taken over as of October 14th, 2024. So I think he's going to turn things around. Been a long-term employee of Nike, worked his way up through the company, so he knows the culture. And the share price ticked up when we heard the news about him coming back to be the CEO. So I think there were a couple of things that played into Nike, you know, kind of going downhill over the last couple of years. One major one, if you remember, is when they decided to go direct consumer and they started to pull a lot of their special releases, a lot of their most highly coveted shoes away from stores like Foot Locker and went to go direct consumer. I think that hurt them. Another thing, I think the inflationary period, times we went through economically, and I think they started to ignore their core consumer. They got away from athletic. They got away from running shoes. They started to lean more into Jordans and kind of that type of deal. Whether it was foam posits, Nike retros, kind of like the Air Maxes and Dunks and all that kind of stuff. They got away from the core and started going towards more of like the trendy deal, and I think that hurt them. Because you had companies like Adidas and some of these other companies start really going deep into that active wear, active shoes, running shoes, all that type of stuff. And they were more focused on the basketball and the Jordans and all that kind of stuff. So I think Nike has major growth potential. Major growth potential. Again, I think they have a new CEO. I listened to their last call. They're going to turn things around. They're starting to focus back on what Nike's known for. Nike is known for its athletics, running shoes, all of that type of stuff. I think Nike's going to get back to its core. And and look at this, man. We haven't seen these prices. Look at the 5 year. Look at the 5 year, man. We haven't seen these lows in some time. Nike is going to bounce back. They're going to bounce back, and this is extremely great growth potential here for Nike. So the next company is one that you know is in my portfolio. One that you know is in my portfolio, one that I love. NVIDIA, the darling child of the semiconductor space, the biggest. So when we're talking about NVIDIA, trading at 140.11, 138.54 after hours. Now, we heard more about Biden maybe putting more restrictions on NVIDIA in terms of the chips that they can supply to the Chinese market. And we've seen a little bit of a dip. We also had Jensen Huang do his CES keynote, in which some people, they weren't impressed, or, they felt like he didn't speak to some of the guidance or some of the things that they wanted to hear him speak to. And since, the stock fell a little bit after that keynote. But I think it's unwarranted. I think it's unwarranted. I think people are sleeping on Nvidia. I see Nvidia going up upwards of 200 plus by the end of 2025. And I'm heavily invested in Nvidia. I love Nvidia. I've done another video on Nvidia when I just did a recap over their CES and kind of like their what their business units are and kind of going over their financials a little bit. I'll put that video at the end of this video if you're interested in going to see it. But for those of you that don't know about NVIDIA, NVIDIA is heavy into GPUs, heavy into GPUs. All of your favorite tech companies are using NVIDIA's GPUs, from Tesla, to Microsoft, Google, everybody. Everybody's using NVIDIA's GPUs. Another thing, they're big in the data center business. They're big in the data center business, automotive. She talked about autonomous vehicles, robotics, quantum. They said they're working with pretty much every major quantum company. They said it's about 15 to 30 years out, but they're working on quantum. He talked about the four sectors of AI that they're working in those industries, from perception AI to generative AI to agentic AI to physical AI. So NVIDIA is definitely, man, one of the biggest companies when it comes to the future of tech, when it comes to the semiconductor space. They have their hands in a lot of different places, and I think that's an amazing company. And these prices, I think it's a fair price, fair value, man. Fair value. I think there's extreme growth potential, and I think we see Nvidia have an amazing 2025. They have their Blackwell RTX 50 series, Hopper, Rubin, and they're doing their thing with these supercomputers, and they're Nvidia's doing a lot, man. Nvidia's doing a lot. So next company, and the last company for tonight, is one that you knew it had to be on here. You knew it had to be on here. Tesla. Tesla is more than a car company. I'm sure everybody knows what Tesla is about. Tesla is more than a car company. Tesla is indeed a tech company. You heard me. Tesla is indeed a tech company. And for me personally, you cannot bet against Elon Musk. You cannot bet against him, man. He's one of the most he's a genius, man. He's a genius. He's one of the biggest, not only tech figures, but just biggest figures in general. And now he's getting into politics. He has the ear of President elect Donald Trump. He's doing business over there in China. He has all of these companies, from Starlink to SpaceX to Tesla, and he just has his hands in everything. He's had his hands in everything. We've seen his net worth grow tremendously over the last month and a half. We've seen Tesla do crazy numbers in growth over the last couple of months. And I don't think that's going to stop going into 2025. I don't think that's going to stop. I see this share price potentially doubling in 2025. Now, Tesla is extremely volatile. Tesla can go up just as fast as Tesla can go down just as fast as it can go up. But I believe that you can't bet against Tesla. You can't bet against Tesla. You can't bet against Elon Musk. Tesla has crazy share, pretty much the majority of share when it comes to EVs in the United States. They have big market share over there in China, competing with BYD. I think who has the biggest. But the point is, Tesla is a massive player globally. They're not going anywhere. They are indeed a tech company. They're into solar. They're into they have insurance. They're supercharger business. You know, Tesla's not going anywhere. Tesla's not going anywhere, and I see this stock doing tremendous. So, with that being said, those are the 5 stocks that I think you should be looking at and potentially buying up, man. Buying up over the next few months. We have Trump coming into office. I feel like there's going to be a lot of uncertainty from tariffs, to things he has going on with Mexico, Canada, China, Panama, Greenland, mass deportations. There's a lot going on. And I think there may be some fear in the market and there may be some buying opportunities. So be watching the market, be paying attention to the news, be paying attention to these stocks. If you can get them at great prices, be looking at that, man. Be looking at that again. SOFI, AMD, Nike, NVIDIA, Tesla. These are 5 big ones, 5 goodies, 5 that I'm definitely loading up in my portfolio. You see what I'm saying? If you got any value out of this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys dearly for tapping in. Thank you guys dearly for checking me out. And I'll see you on the next one.